Good afternoon and welcome, everyone. Today we're sitting as council. And before we go too awful far, we have some special presentations today. And Mr. Bowman, I see you've even called on some of my relatives to be behind you today in support of your award. So we welcome all. We welcome all. I'd like to call this meeting to order. I'm going to say it's 1 o'clock because it's actually going to flip there in about 5 seconds, I think. And we are in the presence of our municipal clerk and deputy clerk, as well as several other staff members. Our first item of business on our agenda is our land acknowledgement statement. The township of Hamilton is situated within the traditional territory of the Mississauga, Anishinaabe, and Chippewa nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations. Our work on these lands respectively acknowledges their resilience and their long-lasting contributions to the area now known as the township of Hamilton. Next item is our confirmation of the agenda, and we do have a prepared motion that reads that the agenda for the council meeting held on June 17th, 2025 be approved. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Mark, seconded by John. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Item 5, are there any declarations of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof today? Seeing none, that will be recorded. I don't believe we have anyone with us or online for a public question period. So we'll move on to item 7, being our presentations. And our first is an enjoyable event in that we are presenting Senior of the Year Award to Mr. Arnold Bowman. Now, our representative from our MPP's office is not in attendance today, but they will be invited to our community recognitions event in November to present a provincial certificate to Mr. Bowman. Now, I know the family, I know some history, but I don't know the Bowmans like our council member, Bruce Butters, does. So Bruce, I would ask that you take this and present this on behalf of council. Thank you, Bruce.
Not being Arnold Bowman. I would have to describe Arnold as being quiet, humble, gracious, kind, and generous. One of the things that I most remember being a highlight of my day was that if Arnold, if I was close by when it was time, Arnold would invite me to go for a ride on his motorcycle down to the pasture to pump water for the cows. That was a real treat, and that's something I always remember, something that he didn't have to do, but that was his nature. We really enjoyed it. Arnold's younger brothers and I were the same age, so he was almost like a big brother to me. Arnold was active in the church from a young age. He went to Sunday school as a boy, and as he grew older, he joined a young people's group where he had roles as treasurer and chairman. I have a couple of things here that I was lucky enough to see on the weekend, and first of all, I have a wedding picture from 1965 of Arnold and June, and I can put them somewhere if anybody would like to see them. But as far as church goes, I have a presentation that was made to Arnold in 1938, and Arnold was made a little white ribboner, which was something that the church ladies did back in the day. And from Sunday, April the 23rd, 1961, a farewell. We are sorry to learn that Arnold Bowman is leaving the church and the community of Plainville. Arnold has taken an interest in the life of the church, particularly in young people's, and we shall miss him. Best wishes and prayers of our congregation go with you, Arnold, as you begin your career in the armed service. Well, we had just had a little celebration at the church on Sunday, and I picked these things up, and I'll make sure I get the bag to you. Arnold lived on a farm, obviously, with his dad, and his intention had been to farm with his dad. But as fate would have it, he was destined for a more varied and demanding career. At the age of 24, with time running out, and to join Arnold joined the Canadian Armed Forces, where he stayed and worked for 34 years. Arnold trained to drive fuel trucks that refuel military equipment, and as his expertise grew, he was commissioned to train new military personnel to do this work. When NATO required the support of the Canadian Armed Forces in Germany, Arnold and his family moved there for 6 years, where he supported his country as a NATO ally. After retirement and moving back to this area, Arnold and his wife June have continued to be active members of the community, attending Plainville and now Camborne United Church. Arnold is always not necessarily to volunteer, but when there's a job to be done, it gets done, and it's usually Arnold that does it. He has been a trustee and for a time was co-treasurer of the church. Arnold and June have volunteered as church greeters and valued members of the church council. Arnold and June are dedicated members of the Lakeshore Square Dance Club and have served roles as treasurers and social conveners. Always generous with his time and talents, Arnold continues to be a dedicated member of the community and of Hamilton Township. It is a privilege to have Arnold as our Senior of the Year and be able to present this to you. So Arnold, if you'd like to come up, and I think June should come with you because you might never have got this far without her support. The awards night in November. That'll be here. It'll be probably at Baltimore.
Bruce, we need to stage this a little differently. We need to have everyone in this group at present turn around to the camera and to the audience. And then we're going to get a photograph or two of the three of you, and then the rest of council is going to gather around in behind. Now, the council will just gather in behind. A little bit. Thanks, Trevor. We'll get council out of here because we're going to main stage it. Now, June, you're leaving us. Congratulations.
Well, Mr. Mayor and the councilors, Hamilton Township, will thank you for this day. I would like to add a couple of names to that award, if I could. To my dad for being there for me during some trying times in my younger years. And to my wife, June, for keeping us together for nearly 60 years of married life. My car radio is always tuned to a country music station. I mean, old country, 40s, 50s, and 60s. And the announcer at the end of his hour would have these words of wisdom. Take care of yourself. For God's sake, be kind to one another. It's just the right thing to do with all the chaos in the world and the border below our border. We would use a little more love and kindness. And with that said, I thank my family and friends for coming out, making it a special occasion. And everyone have a nice day.
Well, I thank everyone for coming out. We as council and staff certainly enjoy the opportunity to recognize seniors of Hamilton Township, and in particular, Senior of the Year. We've had some great fun here over the last few years at this particular point in time. I'm going to provide everyone that's here for that particular event to exit, if you so wish, because we're going to continue on with business in our council meeting. And I'm afraid to say that our next presenter is Richard from Baker Tilly about our financial statements. Now, I've had the occasion to know Richard for 20 years, Richard, I don't know. And I can tell you there's not nearly as much fun in his presentation as yours, Arnold. So again, we thank you all for coming. I know it's very short time frame here, but because of our agenda, we have to continue. And yes, you will receive an invitation from the township to be at our awards night, again, probably at Baltimore Arena in November. So thank you, Arnold. Thank you, June. And thank you for everyone that came along for support today. We appreciate you. Now, Richard, I believe the tone has been set for you. Please handle yourself accordingly. Well, it'd be fine with us. We have an unbelievable high level of trust and faith in our financial department team. So what you're going to tell us is, I'm sure, all good, and will be short-lived, I'm sure, your presentation, right, Richard? Anyway, please confirm the microphone is on and the podium is yours.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. After that introduction, I'm sure it's all downhill from here. Yes. Yes. So, no, pleasure to be here. I do realize it's the mayor's highlight of the year. So I will quickly move through the presentation. So we did conduct the audit back in March and gathered the information, and we're able to present the report today. So first off, your financial statements are prepared on a PSEB basis, and within there is the management report, and then the next report is our report on the financial statements. The auditor's report remains the same and consistent. The content, as I said, is the same. So we picked out the important paragraph here that, in our opinion, the accompanying consolidated statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the township at December 31st and the results of its operations and its cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with Canadian public sector accounting standards, or more commonly known as PSAB. So that, as I said, clean, unqualified auditor's report. Next just gives you a an idea of how we go about gathering our evidence to produce our auditor's report. So some of the items are listed there, as well too. It does involve looking at how things flow within your systems, and the related controls for both the revenues and the disbursements and the payroll, and how you adjust things by journal entry. Overall, the audit is complete, pending council approval of the financial statements, receipt of the signed representation letter, and receipt of the legal letter. Overall, there were no significant difficulties during the course of the audit. No changes to our initial audit plan or disagreements or difficulties with management. Excellent cooperation from management and staff. One thing you'll notice, or you may recall from last year, was a big change for PSAB in that there were a number of new sections implemented. This year there were 3, but only one impacted the municipality, and that's in relation to how you record the revenue for building permits. So that has been changed and reflected in these financial statements. But then overall, there were no uncorrected misstatements as well. So next, we'll actually start taking a look at some of the numbers. You'll see there the 5-year history of your financial assets. So these are assets that are either cash or can be turned into cash. Overall, you'll see that there was an increase in cash, and that's mainly related to the increase in your reserves. Your investments grew by investment growth. Your taxes receivable did increase this year, and as a percentage, they're at 15.5% of the total levy, up from 14% last year. So that puts you in the mid-level risk range from the ministry. To get to the low range, it would be 10%. So in total, you had about $13.3 million in total financial assets, up from the prior year of 11.6. Then the following slide just gives you the bar graph on the 5-year trend. Next, we'll come to who you owe money to or future obligations you may have. Overall, you'll see there that your trade accounts payable was causing your accounts payable to go up year over year by about 400,000. Trade payables were up about 340,000. Deferred revenue, obligatory reserve funds. So these are monies you've collected, such as the Canada Community Building Fund, the gas tax, or parkland monies, or development charges. You've gotten the money, but you don't take them out of deferred revenue until you spend them in accordance with the requirements. So therefore, you had about $2.3 million set aside that can be used moving forward. Very consistent with the prior year. The one change for PSAB, you'll see in the deferred revenue other. Within there, there's building permits that have been deferred for about $223,000 to the change. Previously, you would always record the building permit when it was paid, regardless of when you actually had to do the work. Now the standard says that you try to estimate and bring in the revenue as you do the work. So that was the big change this year. So therefore, $223,000 has been set aside in building permits to be recognized in future years. You have your long-term debt, which was acquired in 2023, and you paid that down by about $21,000. Your asset retirement obligation, which was new in the last year, and there were no changes to that estimate, so it remains the same. And so then in total, you had about almost $6.3 million in total financial liabilities, and the following slide just gives you a picture of that. Then the following slide is a good slide for the township in the fact that it shows that you're in the black when you come to your net financial assets. So this just then gives you an idea of the fact that you do have reserves available and not a lot of debt associated with those assets that leave you in that positive position of $7 million at the end of the year. Next, we come to the non-financial assets. So these are assets that you own that you don't try to turn into cash. So you can see there that your tangible capital assets, this year, the amortization was higher than the additions, causing that decrease. And then as well too, you had some prepaid expenses and some inventories and supplies. And those items for in the roads area did decrease, so that's why that went down. Next slide gives you an idea of the type of additions of the almost $2.2 million in capital assets. And you'll see there that as usual, roads and bridges, roads reconstruction is the largest component there. As well too, within your vehicles and equipment, there was also a new roads plow truck acquired as well for the largest component in that item, as well as other pickups and about almost close to $170,000 in fire equipment, and as well as the some work done for playground equipment as well. So, and then as well too, the water systems had some work done, and then some work even here in this building is recognized in the building additions, as well as some painting and some HVAC work, giving you almost a $2.2 million in additions. And you can see here the additions compared to amortization over the last 5 years, and you will see there that in 2024, since the orange bar is lower than the blue bar, that's why your net book value decreased. Next, we come to the most important slide, I think, of the slide deck. In total, your financial statements say you have about $55.6 million in accumulated surplus, but you will see there that a large chunk of that, $46.5 million, is all related to tangible capital assets. So that's the net book value, less your long-term debt, less your asset retirement obligations, and you have 2 unfunded capitals for both water and some administrative work, leaving you a net there of $46.5 million. You will see there that the water operations had a in-year surplus, so lowering that deficit, and the township overall surplus is still positive, although it did go down from the previous year. So then what's next? What is left is what you can utilize moving forward. So those would be your reserves. And they did increase by $1,324,000, which is about what the bank account went up. So then these are items that you can utilize moving forward to replace your capital. And I suspect the following presentation might give you an idea as to perhaps maybe the future cost of some of those. And of course, the costs that you have set aside historically have never been fully available to replace all your assets that you need to do so. Next, you will see the 5-year trend on your reserve and reserve funds. Next, we come to your consolidated statement of operations, and then this just breaks down your PSAB reported annual surplus on the budget, and of course, since you set your tax rates, everything should come to zero. So this just reconciles that balance down to zero, mainly related to changes within for tangible capital assets, as well as transfers to and from reserves, because PSAB treats your reserves, your capital fund, and your operating fund as one lump sum total. And then as well too, you have some principal repayments this year and changes in unfinanced capital. So with reserves and changes to your surpluses, you can see there that everything does work out to zero in the end. And next you have your revenues and expenses over the last 5 years, and then you will see the additional slides taken directly out of the financial statements. Overall, your total revenues were about almost $300,000 below budget, and a lot of that is related to the use of development charges related for capital items that didn't occur. But for the most part, a lot of your other budget items, all your other line items are fairly close to budget, except of course for your investment income. Of course, with the higher rates over the last few years, your investment income was higher than budgeted. So I suspect that based on current rates, that'll probably go down maybe in the future. Next, you'll see there that as usual, property taxation is your largest component in your revenues. Next, you'll see where your money went on your expense side. This shows that similarly to your budget, and on the revenue side, your expenses were under budget as well. So, which was good to see. I guess maybe the one item that was over budget in relation is the protection services related to fire due to unfortunately additional activity in that area causing an unfavorable variance there. But as for all the other line items, and I guess, sorry, rec and culture was a little higher than budget, and that's related to some amortization coming in higher and some work done at the recreational facilities. The maintenance was a little higher than budget, causing that variance, but still all items very close to budget. Next, you'll see there the pie chart on how those expenses break down. And then the next slide gives you an idea of the type of expenses you have, and you can see there that within the materials area, within the roads area, some of those were lower than budget. Contracted services does include the largest component being your OPP contract, as well as some roads, as well as work in the water department. And then your external transfers includes such as things like contributions to the conservation authorities, to the library board, grants that you provide as well. So those are some of the things that flow through there. So then, and then as well too, on the disposition of some of your assets, you did have an accounting loss there. And then the following slide gives you an idea of where the composition percentages are on that slide. And that is a summary of where things ended up, and I wish to thank your staff. They did an excellent job, as mentioned earlier, of being ready for the audit and making the whole process very smooth. So
Thank you, Richard. I'll go to my fellow council members. Do we have any questions whatsoever? You had the same impact again this year, Richard.
consistency is good.
Richard, we laugh, we joke, but it's a very serious topic. And I think we should recognize your efforts and your presentation. And I thank you for that. And of course, I would be very remiss if I didn't thank our financial team of the work that they do day in and day out. And I also must admit, I need to acknowledge all of our staff, because I know a lot of those numbers come from outlying buildings and outlying people and come in on a regular basis. And we're very pleased with the report that you give us for quite a number of years and the support that our staff give our lead person, being Nezrat. And I thank each and every one of you. So thank you, Richard, and thank you all. We do have a prepared motion that the presentation made by Richard Sedinga of Baker Tilly regarding the Township of Hamilton 2024 audited financial statements be received. Can I have a move? Moved by Larry, seconded by Bruce. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. We'll give Richard a moment to transition for our next presenter. And we welcome Chris Vander Hayden regarding our asset management program. And Chris, I can't tell from here if that microphone's on. Maybe some of our staff could confirm.
Might not be a problem. I talk loud to begin with, so I can always up it a bit if I have to.
Well, that's good. I've never been accused of that, but I understand.
Maybe a few times. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council and staff for having me here today. To be honest, I've always looked for a great opportunity to come up and drive to this beautiful piece of the province. I love it up here. I'm from Southern Ontario myself. My name's Chris Vander Hayden. I'm the Director of Asset Management Advisory at PSD Citywide. I've been with PSD Citywide for 9 years now. I do come from a municipal government background, working for Oxford County for a number of years before going back into the private sector. Today, I'm here to deliver the asset management plan for Hamilton Township, the 2025 Asset Management Plan. And forgive me, I have my laptop. I'm using cheaters because my first day out in the boat, my prescription glasses went in the water. So, and then I realized I can't really see that screen all that well because I don't have the transition. So you'll see me kind of going in between a whole bunch of different views here. So I apologize for that. So for the agenda, and I'm just going to kind of match them here. We'll talk about the legislative background. So OREG 588-17 and what that means and the journey that you've been on since it started. We'll kind of do a high level overview of the 2025 Asset Management Plan. And then we'll talk about next steps and what that looks like for the township. You did say that this was going to be, you were going to give me trouble. That was me. Perfect. All right. So as part of OREG 588-17, it started back in 2015 with the Infrastructure for Jobs Prosperity Act. So every municipality in Ontario is subject to these requirements. So not just yourselves, but all 439 as well. Requires municipalities to develop their asset management policies, update their asset management policies, and also their asset management plans, which started in 2021. And then because of COVID, we bumped it out a year. So it was 2022, 2024, and 2025 with increasing complexities. And I'll have to mention, it's a lot of work in the background to compile all this data and information. And I know your staff here at Hamilton Township and our senior advisor, Sarah Craig, worked tirelessly pulling this all together. We did develop your 2025 asset management plan, which is good news. It's in advance of the July 1st deadline, so you're not at risk of losing any federal funding or any maybe grant applications that you're putting forward. So this is good news. Which way should I be pointing? That way. And it's not moving. Can you advance the slide yourself? I'll just tell you what. Okay, perfect. So if we look at the legislative backgrounds, a whole list of things that every municipality's had to go through over the last number of years. In 2019, it was your strategic asset management policy. In 2022, for asset management plans, you had to do a state of the infrastructure for your non-core assets. So that's everything, for your core assets, which is roads, bridges, water, wastewater, storm, non-core assets being the rest. Also, you had to identify your current levels of service. So what are you providing as a level of service to your municipality today? And also the life cycle costs associated with those current levels of service. So what is it costing us to manage our infrastructure today and what are we doing to manage infrastructure? And also your growth impacts or identify your growth impacts. In 2024, it's basically the same, but you had to include all assets. So core and non-core assets with your current levels of service, life cycle strategies, and growth impacts as well. The asset management plan today incorporates your target levels of service if identified, the life cycle strategies to meet those targets that you may have set, and also financial strategy to ensure that you progress to meeting those targets into the future. Next slide, please. So it's important to understand that the asset management plan is based on 2024 year-end data. It's a snapshot in time. Obviously, we cannot use data any newer than that because it hasn't been audited or confirmed. So 2024 is the data that we're using. It is a snapshot in time. So if you're not aware, under the OREGs, every 5 years thereafter, July 1st, 2025, every municipality in Ontario must update their asset management plan. So it is a liquid document, it's dynamic, and it will change. So it'll be a new snapshot in time at that point in time. It is a dynamic process. It takes ongoing effort. And what I'll mention is we can all do our jobs without technology, but we use technology. Technology relies on data and information, and that data and information feeds from your field staff to your internal staff into your asset management plan. So the investment in data condition assessments is very important. And I'll say first and foremost, to have good reports and good outputs, your systems need to be functional with good data. So I just wanted to highlight that. Next slide, please. So we're looking at the 2025 asset management plan portfolio, so replacement costs. And the replacement costs are a combination of many things. It could be cost per unit. It could be user-defined costs, so from expert knowledge and internal staff knowledge. Or in the case of buildings, it's using the insured values to identify what the replacement cost of those buildings would be in today's costs. There is some cost inflation. It's typically using the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, or the non-residential building index to be able to inflate costs from historical values to today's present value. The replacement costs are based on today's value, not future values. And asset management plans in Ontario, everything is based on today's current value, not inflated values, and also your current revenue streams that are being used in the calculations. Next slide, please. So now if we look at the condition of the portfolio of infrastructure and assets here at Hamilton Township, this is a very good news story. 92% of assets are in fair or better condition. We see far worse throughout the country. We develop asset management plans throughout Canada, and your municipality is in fairly good condition when we look at this information. With 68% of those assets having assessed condition. Again, a good news story. Many municipalities do not have good assessed condition. I would say recommendation is to increase your assessed condition and get a better indication of what your how your assets are performing in the field going forward in the future. Next slide, please. So levels of service. So we, as part of the 2022 and 2024 plans, you identified the current levels of service for your asset groups. For the 2025 asset management plan, the levels of service strategy or approach that we have taken is to look at the current life cycle activities. So this is currently what you're doing today. How much is it going to cost in the future if we were to maintain those programs and processes going forward? And scenario 2 is looking at the current capital reinvestment rate. The current reinvestment rate is how much are we investing back into our infrastructure, and it's calculated as a percentage to the total replacement cost. So how much are we in revenue streams are we injecting into infrastructure divided by the total replacement cost of the portfolio of assets. Next slide, please. So in these scenarios, as you can see on the screen, if we look at scenario 1 using current life cycles activities only, meaning what we should be doing to assets, what we're currently doing, if we maintain this into the future, what are we looking at? Well, you can see that the funding required, and as Mr. Stiginga mentioned earlier, he said it was all downhill from here. So now here I'm the bar set low for me. So I'm giving you this information. Funding required to meet that scenario is $8.2 million annually. That's a lot. But to reassure you, every municipality in Ontario, it's a very similar forecast. This is not uncommon. This is right across the board. We're delivering over 200 asset management plans in Ontario this year, and it's the same story no matter where we look. Scenario 2 was looking at the capital reinvestment rate. And the current capital reinvestment rate today is $2.5 million. If we look at the projected average condition, if we were to maintain that funding level going forward, 25% or assets in the future would be in poor condition at 25%. Projected average condition, on the other hand, on the scenario 1 would be 82%. Might be a little high because we all know that it's not realistic to keep assets in perfect condition because just like all of us, we all deteriorate over time. It's impossible for us to stay in perfect condition. So there's somewhere in the middle is the sweet spot is what I'd like to call it. Next slide, please. So if we look at the annual capital requirements for your tax-funded assets here in Hamilton Township, roughly $7.5 million. The funding available based on sustainable revenue sources. So I have to explain this because every municipality, I get mixed feelings about this. Asset management and plans in Ontario can only include sustainable funding sources. So that's taxes, rates, OSIF, gas tax. Any other sources of funding we cannot include. It's not considered sustainable. So you have to take it with a grain of salt. We know that there's senior level grants that come forward once in a while, but for asset management plans, we can't include that. So when we look at these numbers, we're looking at sustainability, meaning if we don't rely on any other sources of revenue, how would we become sustainable and how much would that cost? Your rate funded assets, annual capital requirements is 7.8 million, or sorry, 783,000 annually. And the funding available currently is 70,000. And then also, obviously, we can see that that leads to the calculated deficit based on sustainable revenue sources. The financial strategy and its recommendations are based on the capital replacement rehabilitation needs required for all infrastructure and assets. To main proposed level of service recommendation was scenario 1, the current life cycle activities. Next slide, please. It's with the financial strategy for this 2025 asset management plan, the recommendation is to implement a average annual tax rate change of 2.5%. It may seem quite a bit over a 20-year period, but the way I like to put it into perspective, I did a town hall meeting with not only council, residents, and staff members a little while ago with another municipality in Ontario. And we've all seen what's been happening over the last 5 to 7 years. Everything has doubled, tripled in cost. The cost to travel to the grocery store, cost to buy the groceries, cost to put the fuel in your car. The one thing that hasn't tripled is taxes. And then by no means am I implying that we should triple our taxes. What I'm simply saying is every municipality in Ontario is trying to do more with less. Not less taxes and rates, but they have more infrastructure to pay for at a higher cost, but they're trying to do it at the same level of funding. So that's the message I'm trying to send here. It's not about increasing or tripling taxes. It's finding that balance somewhere in the middle of balancing your expectations with your future services. This also does not include growth projections. It's based on infrastructure that's in the ground today, your current assets. Next slide, please. So next steps, and I mentioned this earlier, continued data improvements. This is going to be pinnacle for every municipality going forward, simply because we rely on technology. Have to keep your data and information up to date. Continue to refine that inventory and align with operational information as well. But field condition assessments. We've done case studies, many case studies over and over. And if we simply rely on age-based condition, which is taking an estimated useful life and the age of the asset, which comes up a percentage of how much life is left in that asset, it doesn't give you a true indication. We've had, with some municipalities, assessed condition proved that your annual requirement was double than what was required because facilities were in better condition. In other cases, in some assets, the annual requirement wasn't enough because the assets were in such poor condition. And that's not Hamilton Township. I'm just speaking to some information from other municipalities. Annual review. So going forward, beyond July 1st, 2025, every municipality council must review, not update, review the asset management plan annually and review the levels of service that you've put in place and the targets you've set. And it's simply a discussion to say, are we meeting our targets? Are we meeting our needs? And if not, what do we need to do to be able to get there? So it's simply just a review. The next asset management plan for Hamilton Township, like every other municipality in Ontario, is due July 1st, 2030. And I will say, don't wait until 2029 to start developing that plan or investing in the plan. Just to give you an indication, we have municipalities still signing on for 2024 and 2025 plans today. They haven't even started. Bearer of bad news, we've had a couple townships reach out to us where they put in a application for a grant and they were denied because they did not submit their asset management plan on time to the Ministry of Infrastructure. So the provinces is sticking to what they promised, that there's going to be repercussions. So we've got a couple situations like that. Good news is Hamilton Township is in advance of the July 1st, 2025 deadline. So you're not at risk. So that's good news. With that, next slide, I'll just open it up to any questions that you may have about the asset management plan.
Larry, was that a question hand coming up?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks for the presentation. Excellent. The question I have is basically when you talk about increasing data information to keep up to date, how much is that going to cost us in staffing and IT requirements? I mean, you talk about us doing more for less, but just to manage the asset management portfolio, we keep adding costs to it just to keep it up to date. I mean, the government keeps pushing things down to us, and I totally understand, we've got to look at our assets in the future. But I keep looking at the cost that we have to incur just to maintain the data infrastructure and so that we can report it. So it's, the government wants us to do these things, but we keep adding costs onto the accounting process to make sure it happens. So I just wonder how that's going to work out, you know, when we have to increase staff, we have to increase our IT costs. I mean, just, it's a nickel and diming it together, but it's all turns out to be $1 at the end of the day. So I just wonder if staff can answer that, you know, how much we're going to be impacted to try to keep up.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, there will be a significant staffing implication, that's for sure. We're hoping to do this project again this summer. We are going to be updating our asset management plan to make sure that data is correct. But again, staff will be used to do so. So pricing, I mean, staffing will be impacted by it.
Thank you. Any further questions?
If I may, Mr. Mayor.
Please.
Just to add to, and that was a very good, valid comment and very valid question. What I will do is I'll reassure you that OREG 588, I don't disagree with the approach. It's accountability. The way that it was rolled out was really aggressive. And we know that municipalities have struggled getting their data together. And what I mean by getting data together, you may have had a road superintendent that's been employed with the township for 30 years, but then he retires. Everything's up here. And we rely on technology to do everything that we do today. So there's the upfront costs are quite heavy for every municipality. We've witnessed this. What I'll say as a recommendation going forward, document good processes. So you have something in place. So when staff retire and move on or move on to another municipality, that you have a solid process in a place they can pick up from. You're doing all the heavy lifting up front right now, but once the data is in place, if you have good processes and good, I guess, succession planning, you're setting yourself up for success because software provides efficiencies in what we do, but the data costs money to get it there. But once it's there, it's all about maintaining it. So I think your costs over time, if you do it right the first time, will decrease to manage it, but it's keeping the processes in place to be able to keep that momentum going forward.
Thank you, Chris. And thank you for your presentation and your comments. Being no further questions, I'll read the motion. The presentation made by Chris van der Leden of Public Sector Digest regarding the asset management plan be received, and the council approves the 2025 asset management plan and authorizes staff to post it on the municipal website, and the council authorizes staff to submit the 2025 asset management plan to the Ministry of Infrastructure. Could I have a mover, please? Moved by Mark, seconded by Bruce. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. And again, thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council.
I'm going to deviate ever so slightly from our council agenda. I think I was a bit remiss at the beginning of our council meeting that I didn't welcome Skylar with us. This is a resident of Hamilton Township. She's a summer student with us. And I'll just generalize and say lives very close to where our municipal office is. And I'll leave it at that. So welcome, Skylar. I hope you enjoy your time here. Moving on, we don't have anything under agenda item 8 or 9 at this point in time. So we'll go to the adoption of the previous council and committee minutes. And 10.1 is that the minutes of the May 20th, 2025 council meeting be adopted. Could I have a mover, please? Moved by Larry, seconded by John. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. 10.2, Committee of the Whole meeting. Prepared motion reads that the minutes of the June 10th, 2025 Committee of the Whole meeting be approved. Move in the seconder, please. Moved by Larry, seconded by Bruce. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, sorry.
There was a resolution put forward by the Housing and Homelessness Task Force. So I was hoping that we could support that and have our staff be involved in that, since I believe our staff show more expertise than some of the other municipalities. So it'd be nice to have them as part of it.
I'm getting a touch on my shoulder here from our clerk. So could we just have clarification on that process, please?
Counselor Lupton, would you like Amanda to put up that resolution?
If
for
she
consideration?
can, sure.
Just so we know what you're voting on.
Okay. That was a draft motion submitted to us back on the 10th of June. It's been brought to our attention by Councillor Lawson. Thank you. Does anyone wish to provide comment on this motion? Please, Mark.
I think all we're asking is that staff be involved in helping basically the homeless and housing situation within the county and be part of that. I mean, it's not putting you in, out of commission to do anything above and beyond what we would hope. So we're really relying on expertise, and that would be expertise from fellows like Tim and our planning department, along with our CAO. So, and they're just basically bringing recommendations back to see what can be done to speed the process up.
Thank you. Larry, question, comment?
Yeah, I think at our last meeting, our staff was for their expertise. So I think it'd be a valuable asset. Saying that. And then I was just supporting Councillor Loveson's comment that our staff was highly regarded at that last meeting, and the expertise that they would bring would be a really valuable commodity to that. So I support this, that we send that.
Thank you. John, sorry, John, please.
Just, I believe that Mark is on the committee, or Councillor Lupton, I should say. I know this is a good cause and I 100% behind it, but is there any other splinter groups that are moving forward on their own without going through this committee?
I don't believe so. We had the workshop, and the workshop involved a lot of people throughout the county, and we got a lot of recommendation from that, and we heard a lot of issues, and not so much in our municipality, but through other municipalities that were struggling, and they were struggling a lot of the time because of staff changes. Some of it was through maybe not the experience that we have or show in Hamilton Township. So some of it was procedural, and they were looking at changing that. Not so much here, but in some of the other municipalities where some of the developments would take almost a year or better to go from start to finish. And that was just through the procedure of the municipality, not the government, not the upper levels and so forth, like not the provincial statutes or anything like that, but just the way that the municipalities ran their business. So we're hoping to change that and speed those processes up so that things can be done more quickly, and hopefully alleviate some of the housing and homelessness within the county. So when we had that workshop, I believe there was approximately, Tim, maybe you could help answer this, but I think there's approximately 60 plus there. And through that, the recommendations, and everybody got to speak freely. And we heard a lot of issues and so forth. And our staff, they were there and they were able to answer a lot of the tough questions. And I think a lot of the other municipalities would benefit having our staff part of this. And that's right from the CEO down.
Thank you. I'm glad to hear that, because I know the staff have been involved in it, and I know other individuals from other municipalities. And I'm glad you're working together as a group, because that becomes cohesive and you can move forward in a positive direction. So thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Anyone else got any further questions? I have a comment in it, and I mean, I like the rest of us, support the intent of this motion. I recognize that this is a very long and involved motion. And I question whether we shouldn't just hesitate before we consider approving this and ask some of our staff that have been involved with the task force so far, and possibly other staff, our CAO, for example, who's named by position in this motion, to reflect on this proposal. Again, I emphasize I'm supportive of the intent, but I'm wondering if this isn't something that should be tweaked a little bit, refined a little bit, to have the best impact countywide. And one of the principal reasons why I say that is that our staff, as several of us have alluded to here just in the last few minutes, is on the leading edge of so many things in this county. And I'd like their thoughts and reflection on this before I actually supported it 100%. So in doing so, I don't want anyone to think I'm speaking negatively of the intent, because I am not. It's just to reflect on what's there and what we might be able to slightly improve upon. And as such, I would like to suggest that we have a staff report the very next council meeting, come back on this particular proposal. And I throw that out and ask, is there any support of that thought from my fellow council members? Mark, go ahead.
If I may, I want everyone to feel comfortable in passing this. So I have no problem with that happening, because this is going through other municipalities. And by the time we get to the last one, I believe it's going to be near the end of July to get the final response. So I'm happy with that. If we can get a motion back for our July meeting, that would be great.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mark. John, you were going to provide comment? Okay, so process here to our clerk. Could I ask for a motion to have this sent to staff for review with the understanding it comes back at the very next council meeting available to us? Okay, so the motion to that effect is made by Mark, seconded by John. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor of that motion? Carried. Thank you all. Okay, where were we on the previous? We did have a mover and a second, and we had a motion on 10.2, right?
We had a mover and a seconder. You can answer the question.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded on the motion that was once read, that the minutes of the June 10th, 2025 Committee of the Whole meeting be approved. So it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Okay, thank you. Okay. Agenda items 12.1, which are referencing to receive committee minutes. Agenda items 12.2 to 12.5 are considered collectively. And the motion reads that the agenda items of 12.2 to 12.5 on June 17th, 2025 council meeting agenda be received for information. Can I have a mover to that effect? Moved by Larry, seconded by John. All those in favor? Carried, thank you. And is there anyone wishing to pull anything from that 12.2 to 12.5? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to 13, which is our report and recommendation on the ammonia removal pilot final report. We do have a staff here. If we have any questions or comments, I'll read the motion to get it on the floor. Council receives report WTR 2025-03 ammonia removal pilot final report for information. Do I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by John, seconded by Mark. Do we have any questions or comments? Like I say, we do have staff here. Seeing none, I'll ask for the vote, please. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Corporate Services, 15.1. Capital closed projects. Motion reads that the council receives report 2025-11, being the 2024 capital closed projects for information. Do I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Larry, seconded by Bruce. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. 15.2, development charge. Motion reads, the council receives report 2025-09, being the 2024 development charge reserve funds for information. Do I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Bruce, second by John. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Reserve and reserve fund balances. Prepared motion that council receives report 2025-08, being the 2024 reserve and reserve fund balances for information. Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Larry, seconded by Bruce. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. 15.4, reporting requirement under Reg 28409. Prepared motion. The council receives report 2025-10, reporting requirement Ontario Reg 28409 for information. Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Larry, seconded by Bruce. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. 15.5, Ontario Health Team Northumberland physician recruitment model follow-up. Of course, this was a presentation just recently, and it's a lengthy motion, which I will read. The council receives report CAO 2025-05. Ontario Health Team Northumberland lead physician recruitment model follow-up for information, and that council endorses the recommendations put forward during the presentation to Committee of the Whole on June 10th, 2020, by the Ontario Health Team Northumberland representatives, Dr. Fraser Cameron and Andrea Groff, executive lead, as follows: that there is one coordinated plan for the county, and the council supports the county of Northumberland's initiative to lead physician recruitment. The council strongly encourages the county to hire a recruiter as soon as possible, and that the county is developing their advisory group for physician recruitment. Council strongly encourages county to include both the primary care network and the Ontario Health Team Northumberland as part of their advisory group, and the council supports and encourages the county, the Ontario Health Team Northumberland, and the primary care network to take meaningful steps to develop and foster a trusting relationship amongst the advisory group for the betterment of the group, present, the future physicians, and ultimately the residents, the county, and further, the council directs staff share this resolution and these recommendations with the county, primary care network, and Ontario Health Team Northumberland. Do I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Larry, seconded by Mark. Questions or comments?
Have they come up with an advisory group outlet, like at the county level at this point? Or is that coming?
I am unable to answer that question. To my knowledge, no, but forgive me, I've been away because of medical circumstances for the last 2 weeks, so I can suggest I'm not up to date. So please forgive me for that. Bruce, did you have a question or comment?
Yeah, I sort of felt the presentation that day and some of the comments were made, that turning this over to the county was a bit of a step backwards. And I would just like to, if in fact it is there anything we can do about it? And or if we can't do it, make sure that it's not a step backwards, because it seemed like they had got to a certain level, and then by turning this back over the county, they were afraid that this might not get done, and I think it's of utmost important it does, so I'm not sure how we do that, but it's a concern I had from what I heard at the presentation.
I understand, and I would suggest that your information that you've heard has been heard by many people. The county have taken the lead in this. It was a decision that followed the day following our May meeting, prior to this presentation to Hamilton Township Council. Can anything be rerouted or overturned? Yes. In this particular case, I suggest that there is a strong movement forward for the county to take control of this. Certainly in the vote at the county council in May, that was very present. I think at this point in time, the best energy, the best effort, and the most positive outcome is actually captured in the motion that we have before us today. The cooperation, the collaborative nature of our presenters last month, I think was very strong. Their willingness to work with the county and to have the most positive, fastest outcome to get doctors into this area, I think were very, very strong. And I'm pleased that the presenters were in that position to make that presentation to us. And I turn to this particular motion. I don't know exactly how many people worked on this motion, how many people had input to it. But for any, and I know it's under the report of the CAO, Arthur, if you did this exclusively, thank you. If you had other team members work with you on this particular motion, I thank them. I believe this is one of the strongest, most direct motions that we could have on this topic. And I thank anyone and everyone that worked on it. That's the best answer that I can give you at this point in time, Bruce. I know there's other questions here or other comments. Mark, if I can go back to you in just a minute, I'll bounce to John and then come back to yourself. So John, please.
Yes, Mayor Jib, I was considering the fact that would this motion be shared with other municipalities to let them know where we stand out of the 7? I think by doing that, and I think we have to really look at the primary care network. You've got to have these people involved in this organization, the structure of the organization, such the county's going to take it on. But these people have to be there. If they're going to exclude them or try and exclude them, that's a failure, as far as I'm concerned. And like Bruce said, it's one step back, to be 5 steps back if they don't include them, because these people have the expertise and the knowledge. And I just hope that happens. So by sharing with other municipalities, maybe it will show them that we're taking a step in the right direction. Maybe they'll follow. That's all the comments I got.
Thank you, John. Can we come back to that? And don't let me lose it, by the way. Can we come back to that to maybe get another comment that may reflect on our motion as well? John, anything further? Larry, anything further? And then we got to get back to Mark because he's.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be short. First off, I support what John's saying. I want to just clarify something, that there's a number of different healthcare acronyms and names of organizations, but to be clear, the primary care network represents the physicians themselves. That's what that means. Okay, so we use these terms like primary care network. The average person might not understand what that is. Those are the physicians themselves, and they have a network that they are belonging to. The other thing is I support John's comment about sending this to all the other townships, but I also suggest we copy in the Northumberland Hospital, Susan Walsh, the CAO, and also the MPP, David Piccini, because we want to make them aware of what we're doing too. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. No, Mark, we should have got back to you sooner.
No,
My
no,
apologies.
that's fine. I share the same sentiments that the other two councillors share. My thought was there is county council meeting tomorrow.
Correct.
Can this be brought forward by yourself at county council tomorrow? because I mean, we're talking about speed and so forth of hiring a recruiter and that type thing, and you could probably be an activist for us to do that.
Well, I did state that I would do that, although bringing forward this particular motion tomorrow hadn't been on my agenda to think of, but I certainly would enjoy that opportunity. Yes.
I think if we could add that maybe to our motion at the end, that our mayor bring that forward to county council, and that would help a lot.
And I'll reach out to our own staff here to get a little guidance on the best way for me to possibly accomplish that. Okay, so what we've got is a suggestion of a modified motion to include.
So if you wouldn't mind, a mover and a seconder for the amendment to include circulation to area municipalities, Northumberland Hills Hospital CAO and FEP David Buccini, and that the mayor or Mayor Chair be requested to bring forward the motion to the next county council meeting.
Okay,
So,
John, we have that excellently worded at this point in time by the person who's actually doing the documentation. Are you good with that wording as a motion? And do we have a seconder that would also be very happy with that wording? Moved by John, seconded by Larry.
and then final motion on the amended motion.
Okay, so just a little clarity. We got a motion to add. So now and we need that passed. We need that. We need that. John and Larry.
First motion was Deputy Mayor Williamson, seconded by Councillor Levshin. That's right. And then an amendment by Councillor Davidson, seconded by Deputy Mayor Williamson. So we would like another motion, which would be the amended motion.
Moved by Larry, seconded by Mark. Okay. Well, we gotta have a vote. All those in favor of those 17 motions we just made. We'll let our clerk's department sort all that out. The intent is there. The motion is there. We've got movers and seconders. Again, serious topic. Have we got our procedure under control? And I turn to our clerk's department. Are we good to move on?
We are fantastic.
Wonderful. By the way, just a comment, our presentation on this topic was viewed by other area council members outside of our own municipality. So it is gaining a bit of interest, shall I say. Okay, emergency services 16.1. Motion is that the council receives report BLW 2025-02 being bylaw enforcement to license, regulate, and govern refreshment vehicles, and further that bylaw 2025-24 be brought forward for approval to replace bylaw 2008-16 as amended. Mover, John, seconder, Bruce. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Communication 17.1. And that is that the agenda items of 17.2 to 17.3 of the June 17th, 2025 council meeting agenda be received. And we're going to pull some of this, obviously. Could I have a motion to get this on the floor? Moved by John, seconded by Larry. Any questions or comments? And we'll go ahead and get the vote and then we'll come back to this. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Does anybody want to pull this or you just want me to go ahead? All right, I'm going to go ahead. 17.2. Arthur, you've been with us 10 years. I don't know in your point of view whether that's 10 long years or 10 wonderful years. 10 wonderful years. Well, when my wife says that about the number of years we've been married, I'm not so sure that I really believe her. But in this particular case, I'm going to take you at your word, Arthur. Thank you for being here. Thank you for helping us through many things. In a lot of ways, there's been some difficult times in that 10-year period. I mean, we've struggled. I mean, the strongest one that continues to impact us, of course, was the COVID and the fallout of COVID. And we managed that, and we continue to manage that under your guidance and with the help of many staff members. Now we're into conversations, it seems like every month, about tariffs and what impact they're going to have on our budget related items. So I thank you, Arthur, for being with us. And Arthur, it would only be fair if we provided you an opportunity to speak. So a little off agenda cue, and if you want to keep it very short, that's up to you. If you want to take a little bit, that's up to you. The floor is yours, Arthur. And the microphone's over here in the center, Arthur. If you really
I see that one's on, but I don't think I'll go there. I will keep it short, but I thought you just adopted my resolution to move on, but thank you for your kind words. 10 years has gone by rather quickly, but I've been no shortage of exceptionally exciting opportunities and other times very challenging ones. But overall, it's a phenomenal period to be working in the township, 3 different councils, and each one's getting better with age, as they say. I wanted to say phenomenal staff to work with during this time. And my tenure here is exceeded only by one, which is Tim Geronimus, our in the back row. The rest been able to work with closely over the last 10 years and hire as part of a hiring process, and been again thrilled to be able to work with this phenomenal team of staff here, and of course staff throughout our buildings and facilities in the township. So again, thanks for the recognition. Appreciate the opportunity and look forward to the future with you. So thanks again.
Arthur, a few weeks ago when I wasn't feeling well, we could have just gone through the resolution, and that's probably I would have had anything further to say, but I'm feeling better. So you should have known we were going to do a little something. And you mentioned Tim, and I don't know whether very many people know this, but Tim was a student with us. And when he first arrived here, I don't know, 12, 13 years ago, whatever it is now, Tim thought he was showing up for a job interview to cut grass for the summer. That never materialized quite the way he was thinking. So our 2 senior people, as far as years of service, are here with us today, and I enjoy working with both of you. So we're moving on. 17.3 we've got dealt with. 18.1 refreshment vehicle bylaw. Prepared motion reads the bylaw 2025-24, being a bylaw to license, regulate, and govern vehicles from which the refreshments are sold for consumption by the public, and for revoking such licenses be given first, second, and third reading, and finally passed the 17th day of June 2025. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Mark, seconded by Bruce. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Media questions. I don't believe there's any media with us, and I don't believe there's anyone online. So we'll move past that, and we'll be going into closed session. And as soon as we get the motion made and we're in that process of making that transition, we'll take a 5-minute break, just because we don't really know how much longer we're going to be. So the motion reads to move into closed. Motion to move to closed session to discuss matters permitted under section 239(2)(h). Information explicitly supplied in confidence to the municipality or local board by Canada, province, or territory, or crown agency of any of them. Provincial funding for municipal facilities. It is recommended the Council of Corporation of Township of Hackness Council meeting held on June 17th, 2025, moving into closed session at 2:18 p.m. under the Municipal Act sections 239(2)(h). Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Bruce, seconded by John, and it's 2:18, so we'll be back here at 2:23, please. Okay, we're back in open session and our report coming out of closed is that staff received direction in closed session to proceed with the actions required. Thank you, everyone. And back to our regular agenda now. Confirmatory bylaw, prepared motion that bylaw 2025-25 being a bylaw to adopt the proceedings of council meeting held on the 17th day of June 2025 and to authorize its execution be given first, second, and third reading and finally passed the 17th day of June 2025. Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Larry, seconded by Bruce. All those in favor? Okay, thank you. Prepared motion on adjournment that council meeting held on June 17th, 2025 be adjourned at 2:39 PM. Moved by Mark, seconded by Larry. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. And thank you to all staff. And we'll just wait